Do you know who you are? Do you know what's happening to you? Do you want to live this way? All it takes is one moment to change your life forever. It can change your perspective, color your thinking. One moment that makes you reevaluate everything you know. For Katniss Everdeen, this life-changing moment happened when her little sister's name was chosen to compete in the 74th annual Hunger Games. In the Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins, North America has been ruined and a new nation called Panem has been formed. With an oppressive capital with 13 districts, all the people can do is try to survive while the capital lives in luxury. The districts, which are made up of working-class people, provide the capital with everything it needs to continue to stay in control and support its luxurious routines. This is the nature of the domination and dystopia called Panem. With this kind of oppression, District 13 decides to create an uprising. The capital forms an agreement with them, and by demolishing their buildings as they seek shelter underground. And they tell the other districts that they have been destroyed by nuclear weapons. Therefore, with the objective of sustaining control and to endure its luxury, Panem establishes a constant reminder of its control over the districts, the Hunger Games. Each year, each of the 12 districts send 2 tributes, one boy and one girl, to fight in the arena to the death. The last child standing is the winner. The games are the entertainment for the masses in the technological advanced culture. These annual games are televised and each citizen of Panem must watch. The heroine of the story is Katniss Everdeen, who lives in the particularly impoverished District 12 with her mother and younger sister Prim. In the annual reaping, when one boy and one girl is chosen to see who will compete to the death, Prim's name is called. Instantly, Katniss steps up to take Prim's place and volunteers tribute.
I volunteer as tribute.
The ethical question of the Hunger Games focuses on the games themselves. Katniss must deliberate the fact that she must kill the other tribunes before a television audience to return to her family alive. The question of when killing is justified has troubled society forever, and Katniss is presented with murdering children to guarantee her own survival. While other tributes are out to kill Katniss and therefore her actions can be seen as self-defense, Katniss also knows that they are nearly all being forced into the games as well. This fosters the question, does the end justify the means? For the most part, Katniss takes a very practical approach to her situation. She knows that her sister needs her. However, her plan to be ruthless in the games is tested by her sympathy for those trapped within the games as well. She typically is seen defending herself rather than seeking out kills. Her moral compass is tested while she meets Rue, a little girl very similar to her sister. Katniss is unable to separate her feelings for her and cannot hurt her. While each tribute must act in their own sane egotism to ensure their survival, we do see Katniss violate this theory that most tributes have. Her sympathy and beliefs will not allow her to become the brutal murderer that the career tributes easily embrace. Katniss does know who she is, but she is tested. Natural law tells her she must take her sister's place, but she does not take into account the consequences for her actions.
You have to win.
The standards set by the government are like those created during the times of Roman gladiators. These ethics focus on government-approved murder for the entertainment of those in power. Like in the games of Roman gladiators, there are tributes in the game who have been preparing their whole lives to be glorified in the games. In Ethics for the New Millennium, the Dalai Lama states, "We have no means of discriminating between right and wrong if we do not take into account others' feelings, others' sufferings." We see how Katniss must ask herself if she knows who she truly is. Her moral compass is tested as she must consider doing the right thing for herself, for her sister, or for the needs of the capital. As we talked about in class, one person's utopia can be another's dystopia. This is true in the Hunger Games. The Hunger Games are the ultimate demonstration of the government's authority and were created to scare the districts from rebelling. The citizens simply are pawns in an ultimate game of life or death. The capital has a utilitarian mindset, believing in the greatest good for the greatest number of people. This mindset makes them consider much of the nation of Panem, such as the capital, the career districts 1, 2, and 3, but easily pushes the impoverished districts to the side. We see this displayed in the scene in the first movie where they play the reaping propaganda video before they choose the tributes. Tributes are sacrificed to keep the peace. The capital is a great example of what a culture can look like without a god or all-knowing individual. They believe that power is more important than ethics. The nation makes its decision based on the capital rather than belief in God. The capital has an I attitude. The only lord of every sentence is the self. As reflected in the story of Prometheus, the first impulse of humanity is to use technology to kill. These technologies of war prompt the deepest ethical questioning. The games reflected a war zone. Alliances were created, killings were mindless, suffering was inevitable, and it was broadcasted for all to see. In the eyes of the capital, there was no such thing as just war. They viewed war in a realism outlook. Win whatever it takes. It is shown time and time again that the capital uses media, in particular the coverage of the Hunger Games, both to intimidate and give hope to the citizens of Panem. They show quickly they can kill or how quickly they can reward. Katniss arrives at the capital and is disgusted by the citizens, who are carefree and corrupt. They depend on technology to fulfill their every impulse and economically exploit the districts to fund their extravagance. Each year they impatiently anticipate the beginning of the games as they live for entertainment. In his speech Beyond Vietnam, Martin Luther King said we must rapidly begin to shift from a thing-oriented society to a person-oriented society. When machines and computers, profit motives, and property rights are considered more important than people, the giant triplets of racism, extreme materialism, and militarism are incapable of being conquered. This is how Katniss and many others living in the district see the world. Collins invented a dystopia displaying how a strong and unchallenged federal government leads to despair and dehumanization of the majority of citizens. She shows that through this, people are viewed as objects rather than people, and how one's despair is another person's joy. Today, many feel that in our society, those in control are too disconnected to the average person. Collins shows just how crippling this disconnect can be. So now you must ask yourself, think about the society you live in. Think about those in power around you. And ask yourself, do you know who you are? Do you know what's happening to you? Do you want to live this way?